Now, before we get started, please subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications by clicking on the bell icon. Let's go through what we will be covering in today's session. We will firstly go through a brief history of Python and what it is, following which we will see the different features that Python provides us along with those who use Python in the industries. Once we are clear with these topics, we shall dive straight into the Python basics where we shall cover the different data types such as numeric, lists, tuples, and many more, the operators in it, and later understand how flow control works and how we can manipulate it using loops and conditions. Following which, we will learn how to write functions and see some of the inbuilt functions that Python has. Later, we will be ending our session with file handling where we learn how to read and write data to and from a file. So I hope all of you are clear with the agenda for today. Can I please get a confirmation message in the chat box? So now without any further ado, let's get started with the first topic of today's session. The first topic for today's session is what is Python. Python is a general purpose programming language which can be used for almost anything, may it be to develop web pages or for machine learning or any sort of simple application. Python has you covered. So you would wonder, where did it all start? In the 1980s, Guido van Rossum wanted to make a language that was beautiful to look at and easy for everybody to read. So as a hobby, he started to make a language which would use indentations instead of braces, because of which the code became distinguishable and all the more readable. He named it after the creator. So you would wonder, where did it all start? In the 1980s, Guido van Rossum wanted to make a language that was beautiful to look at and easy for everybody to read. So as a hobby, he started to make a language which would use indentations instead of braces, because of which the code became distinguishable and all the more readable. He named it after the creator of his favorite show, Monty Python, and released it in 1989. Python has gained popularity recently with the rise of machine learning and artificial intelligence, as Python makes code writing easy and efficient. So, formally saying, Python is a high-level interpreted language which has easy syntax and dynamic semantics. So what do these four keywords mean? Well, high level means that Python derives components from the natural language that we humans use to communicate with each other. This makes it easier for anybody to try and relate what exactly could be happening without the burden of going through tons of machine code. Interpreted means that the Python code is compiled line by line, which makes debugging errors much more easier and efficient. But this comes at a cost, as Python is much more slower than other programming languages. Python has easy syntax because it makes use of indentations instead of braces to distinguish what block of code comes under which class or function. This makes the code much more distributed and easy for anybody to read. Python has dynamic semantics, meaning that you do not need to initialize anything before using it. Python does all of that dynamically. So I hope you have a clear idea of what is Python. Let us go ahead and understand the different features that Python provides us. So as you can see, Python has a variety of features that it provides us. Let us go ahead and understand each of these one by one. The most well-known feature of Python is its simplicity. Python has made programming fun because it is simple. It makes you think more for obtaining the solution of your problem rather than thinking for the syntax of your code. The next important feature is that Python is an open source language, which means that it is free for anybody to use. You can also modify Python accordingly so that it better benefits your needs without any repercussions. Which brings us to our next feature, portability. Python supports portability, which means that you can write your code and share it with your team members or anybody that you want to, and it would run the same way as it does for you. This makes it really helpful when you are working on an application with a team of people. Our next feature are the embedding properties. There may be chances that certain languages perform certain functions better than Python, but that does not stop you, as Python allows you to add the code of those particular languages within itself, which makes Python all the more powerful. With that, let us move over to the next feature, interpretation. Python is interpreted line by line, which means that the management of memory and CPU is much more efficient and easy. A whole program may take up a lot of memory, but Python would take away the block of code that has already been executed. This frees up memory and makes the code run much more better. Now, if you are wondering whether Python is the language to get started off with, let me tell you that it is. Which brings us to the next feature, library support. Python has a huge library support, which would help you to obtain solutions to your problems easier and much more efficiently. You can get started off with data science or web development on the go with Python. You may have also had questions like how do developers make applications that are so well related to a particular domain? That is because of object-oriented concepts. Python also supports OOPS, meaning that you can model a real-world problem into your code and you can have security for it such that certain features only access those particular data elements. This can help you in replicating real-world problems. So we have gone through the features